Hello there, YouTube. Happy New Year from me, Charlie Brawley, saying Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020. And one of the things I wanted to do this year in all my videos is just simply make them shorter. I thought about how much time I spent talking. Even though the information's good, I'm going to do my best to be very, very clear up front. So if you need to re-listen to it, do so. In this video, what I'm going to be doing is talking about how to use the progression worksheet that comes with the software. Now, for those who are unfamiliar, we've just created a new software for the numbers game. And one of the things about the software, the huge part about the software, it allows you to see what numbers have not been hit. So let me just create a new game just to show you really briefly how this works. It just kind of shows you what numbers have not been hit. Let's say, so if we just do this, I'm going to click on everything else. And you can see that the number 9 has been missing how many times now? 11 times. So it shows you how many numbers have been missed, right? Now, one of the things about what I'm going to show you in this progression chart, the biggest thing I'm going to teach you right now is the concept of maximum threshold. So you know how much to totally bet on what we call a maximum progression. According to your bankroll, so that you can continue to play and you don't blow out your bankroll. Also, how to operate the worksheet. Now, the huge thing about this software, again, it really shows you how long a number has been gone in the sequence of numbers. If you are familiar with Red 32, 1943, Red 32 went the longest streak 32 times in 1943. At least that's the recorded record. But who wants to wait around 32 or 40 years for that threshold? So what I've done with these numbers and other strategies was to create maximum thresholds, not that takes 40 years to come across, but in a lot of cases just in hours. But what that may mean is that you may have to wait, okay? You may have to exercise patience. So with doing that, you could just simply just plug in the numbers, and the number that you see have went the longest, generally in the teens, is when you're at the maximum. We've seen numbers go as long as 20, but we're talking about anomalies. So I'm going to show you how to operate a maximum threshold and how to play it, and how to almost never ever lose, so as long as you are patient. Now, when you do get the game, one of the things I always recommend you do is study and practice. Test it. See. Don't just jump in there and throw money. Anything that's worthwhile is worth investigating. Take the time and study it. Now, let's talk about maximum thresholds according to the software. Now, first of all, this is the progression chart. If you ever wanted to change the progression chart, you can just simply put a 1 here. And what this is going to do is going to show you the profit that you would have made, the total amount of money you would have lost. Let me just highlight this real quick. You can kind of see here. Highlight, we shouldn't call that a red, we should call that a black, but you get my point. So the total loss and total profit, actually I will change that. All right, so total loss and then total profit. So you can see here with $1 covering 11 numbers, because there's 11 numbers that you'll get with every number that you end up playing, and the total cost was $1. So let's say you lost that one. The second progression, you can put $1 on each, and you'll win $15 if you win. The third progression, you probably could get away with another $1. Let's see. Yeah, you only make $4, but I just hope you don't hit on the third. I mean, you only make 4, but if you wanted to bump it up to $2, you can win 30, but the total cost at this point is $44. All right, so we're just going to put some more in here, and you could change this to whatever dollar amount you want. You can start it at $10 and say, okay, what happens at 10? And all right, so how do we keep it? All right, so 280, we can still keep it up there. Okay, let's push it up to 20. Let's see. All right, so it's going down slowly. We'll just continue this kind of 2025 track. You get my whole point. You could do this whatever dollar amount you want, but for time's sake and for training purposes, I'm going to keep it at $1 because I'm going to show you the value in all of this in just a second. All right, so I'm going to make this $2 at progression 4. You can see here the total loss right here is $55 for 4 progressions. All right. So we continue going. For the 5th progression, we'll do $3. Yeah, let me see what it looks like at 2. Yeah, we've got to do 3. All right, so you can see how I had to make that adjustment. You can see I put 2, and you can instantly see that I would have lost on that. So that instantly showed me that I just have to increase it to 3. So now you will have a litmus and you'll know exactly how much to play on each number. No, we do not cover the 0. The zeros are null and void in this whole equation. This is only based on the number. So if a 0 hits, a 0 is just like hitting any other number that we are not covering. So do not worry about the 0. All right, so let's continue. 4, let's see what 4 looks like. All right. Let's go back to 3. Let's see if we make any. No, we got to go to 4. And I certainly think we got to go to 5 here. Maybe even 6. All right, so $24. Let's see, 7, 8. All right, we'll take 8. We're gonna have to bump this up maybe to 11 right here. Yeah, just to break even. So let's go to 12. So we're at $26, and by the 10th progression, we are at, let's say, 12. Let's jump it up to 16. Yeah, 17. All right, so for a total of 10 progressions, it will cost $605. Now, the percentage that you should kind of allow for in terms of the maximum progressive value is 10%. So your bankroll should be 10% of your maximum progressive value. So in this case, the maximum progressive value at 10% would be $600, which means you need a $6,000 bankroll to be able to afford this if 10% is the maximum threshold calculation for you. Here is why I like 10%. Because you get 9 additional times to deplete your bankroll before you're out. If you increased this to say 15, or let's say something drastic, 40%, which is what a lot of people end up doing. Say, for example, you come to the casino with $500, but the maximum progression costs you $200. That's like spending 40% on one singular threshold. That is way, way, way beyond what you should be doing. That's way beyond. 10% might be too high, but let's just keep it at 10% for now. All right. So the 10% will cost you, if you have a bankroll of $50, it will cost you, $500, it will cost you $50. So right here, this tells me you might want to keep this at 3 progressions or minus or less. This tells me 3 progressions or less. This says, hey, with $1,000 based upon this current structure, you could afford 5 progressions or more. So let's look at that. Here's the 5th progression. What would it cost us? The total cost is $88. So this is right. So this tells me that with $1,000 bankroll, I could afford to do 5 progressions. How can I reduce my risk? Here's the great question. How can I reduce my risk? The way to reduce your risk is to have patience. If you're starting after, for example, let me show you a new game here. I'm just going to plug in some numbers. All right, so instantly this went to -1, which lets me know that 11 won. So if you were starting to play after each number, you have to be prepared financially to play through your progressions. Starting early is not a problem, so as long as you have enough money. But if you're wanting to play where the risk is less, then you're gonna have to wait until a game has, or a number has gone for quite some time. So for example, you may want to wait for something like this, where the number 9, you can see it went to 13, and well, let's say not the number 20, the number 28 here. All right, so let's see here. You can see here that it's gone to 11, right? You want to wait until it gets that far in if you say have 5 progressions, particularly if you have less than 3 progressions and you're sticking to this theory. I can't control what you do. I'm only going to suggest that you stick to 10% if you're taking this serious. Another thing I'm going to suggest you do is lower the amount of goals, the amount of units that you're trying to go for. The longer you play, the more exposure you have, the more risk you take. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I say stick at 10%, so that you have additional times to make mistakes. But the way to dodge that is to afford yourself more time to wait as long as you can for a number within this algorithm to go missing. Now you're probably saying, well, if I have to wait an hour, that's a long time. Let me tell you something. It's nearing one of the most, the threshold. That's what's special about the numbers. It's not so much that they're just numbers. They're numbers that are derivatives of thresholds, like red 32, but it took 40 years. In this case, I've figured it out where to do it within a much smaller amount of time if you're willing to wait for them. Okay, now you do not have to wait. You can see here, look here and see that all these numbers were coming back to back. You can literally flat bet it. You're gonna have to practice that though. Okay, when I say flat bet, like after every number, if you miss this one, you go to the next one. You miss that one, you go to the next one. You'll have strings and runs of wins because the average win is $26. The average loss is 11. So if you flat betted it, it still works that way, but you're gonna have to practice it. Let's go back to the maximum threshold amount. So the maximum threshold for $500 at 10% is obviously 50. So for 1,000 at 10%, it's 100, which at this rate you can do 5 progressions safely at 10% maximum threshold. You can adjust it as you grow along into this game, but practice first. Okay, practice first. All right, so you can see here, if your bankroll, let's say you had $3,000. Now this says with 450 being a top, you could definitely do 5. So let's see, 450 will put you at about 9 progressions. So let's say if you allowed the game to go missing numbers for at least 11 or 12, you can play for 9 progressions. How fast does that happen? It happens within hours, within an hour, sometimes within minutes. This is how fast these numbers are reacting, but you've got to study it. Now, at 15%, however, you can see that the time before depletion is 5.6%. So the way to delineate the odds of that is through what? Waiting. Just wait. You don't lose any money being patient. You don't lose a dime for patience, but you certainly can lose everything without it. Okay. All right, so 10% is what I think is particularly when you're starting out. 10% is definitely a good thing. And also using time as your weapon and waiting. If you have 2 of the softwares, what you can do, you can play them both. Like you can key in one here and one in the other, and you can look at them both to see which one has drug out any of the numbers that have drugged out into the teens. If you have the money, let's say if you do have like $3,000 bankroll, excuse me, it says you can definitely go for 5 progressions. $300 will put you at about eight progressions at 10%. You know, but you know, you can increase it to however you choose. I won't be able to stop you either way. It's going to be up to you. All right, so in this case, 12%, 360. Let's see, where did it put us at? Still at right about 8. All right, so all right guys, I just don't want to continue to belabor the point. I think you guys kind of get the picture. The concept of maximum thresholds is so that you don't blow out your bankroll. You have a stopping point. But the way to delineate the risk is to, number one, when you get this software, what you should do, you should study. Okay, you should look at how many times or how long do numbers go missing, and then you want to look at how much time does it happen in. Does it happen in 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and what's the frequency? Because that will tell you, based upon your own bankroll and your time, what type of progression you should have. So for example, if you know if a number 11 only shows up once every 2 hours, okay, but you only have an hour to play, and you want to dodge that, for example, then what you're going to have to do is play a much shorter progression. But let's assume that the number 11 was coming up, a longer progression, or just play at a shorter time. So let's say that the number 11 was coming up, I don't know, 3 times in an hour. Okay, and you had just say you had a small budget and you can only do 3 progressions. So you would wait for an 11 and you'll play 12, 13, and 14, which means if it goes beyond 14, you're talking about an even very, very low percentage chance of it even happening. But it only costs you 3 progressions. And that's only because of the amount of money that you have. The more money that you have, the more that you can do, and you could still wait the same amount of time that a person who would have to wait if they don't have the money. So let's say if you got $3,000 and you still wanted to wait for one to go 12, well, sometimes they happen really quickly, and with $3,000 at 10%, you can afford at least 8 progressions. So you're talking about 18 straight times that a number goes missing. But what you need to do is actually go and study it first so that you see what I'm saying. Okay, and then again, guys, you can also look at the flat bet as well, but you're gonna have to, when I say flat bet, meaning playing after each one, but that doesn't mean you're gonna win them all. Okay, it's just really good, but it does not mean you will win them all. Okay, so with that said, guys, I just wanted to show you guys just this, how to operate the sheet, maximum thresholds. Hopefully this was a shorter video than some of my other ones. Until the next time, take care. Oh, just got a couple more days before the software is done. So if you are interested, you need to hit me up on that soon. We are making developments, and soon it will be made into an app, and you will be able to access it either on the app or online. Chances are good it's going to be something that you will, for those who currently have it, you'll be able to get the app. But for those going forward after the promotion, we're going to try and have this online, and it will be a pay to play system. So take advantage now. I'm not exactly saying that's exactly how it's going to go down, but right now that's kind of where it's headed. So take advantage where you can. Until the next time, if I have more training, I will deliver it to you. Until the next time, permutationspro@gmail.com. If you're interested, by the way, send me that email. Until the next time, take care.